Welcome back to RXMuscle's Iron Road to the Olympia 2018, brought to you by Redcon One. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's guest is the winner of the Chicago Pro Figure Show. She's going to her first Miss Figure Olympia this year. It's Julia Waring. Hey. Hey, Julia.
Hey, Dave. It's a little bit of a delay.
Oh, okay. I thought we lost you there for a second. You know, this is last year you turned pro at the USA Championships. You won your class. This is a huge leap you made this coming year. You did your pro debut in Pittsburgh in front of Jim Mannion there. You placed second. You did the Chicago Pro. You won this year. You go into the Olympia. It's got to feel great. What a whirlwind year you've had.
Yes, it's definitely a blessing. We went into Pittsburgh, honestly, because it was the closest show, and my husband and I were like, if you're going to compete, you might as well see where you stack against the best of the best. So we picked one of the biggest shows, and we were surprised. I did well.
Well, you know, it's great because it happens a lot, too. J.M. Mannion and I have discussed this. A lot of times, the people who don't necessarily win the USA overall or the Nationals overall, the girls that win their weight class, sometimes even girls that come in second in their weight class, wind up being better pros than they were amateurs. You seem to have excelled in the pro ranks. You obviously have an amazing structure, small waist. You have the physique that they're looking for up there, and I think that's, you know, sometimes, you know, the hard work pays off, you know, at the next level, which is what you've accomplished.
Yes, and we took the approach where when I went pro at Junior USA, actually, not Nationals, we just took time off. We knew I needed to grow. The feedback was I needed about 2 to 3 more pounds of balanced muscle. So we took our time and we built a physique that we felt would be worthy of at least the top 5.
Well, you know, I think that you've proven to the figure world, at least, that you're the real deal. A second in Pittsburgh obviously is tremendous, and then obviously that big win in Chicago really sealed the deal for you. You know, it's interesting because a lot of people use trainers these days. You do your own diet. What made you decide to kind of, you know, keep it in-house and for you to kind of take care of your own business?
Well, I was working with coaches and it just wasn't working. So what I actually did was I reached out to a diagnostic, like a holistic coach. So it was more of just getting my hormones back on balance because I couldn't get my lower body to get that tie-in that I needed. So it was more of me just trying to figure out how to make myself healthy. And in the process, I learned so much about my body that I realized that I could do my own prep.
Mm-hmm. Well, give us an idea, because a lot of people out there might be watching. What were you doing wrong, and then what are you doing that corrected the situation?
So basically, I reached out. It was to Peter Gordon. He's a holistic diagnostic nutritionist in the DMV area. And basically, I was having issues with my cycle. I was also just having issues holding body fat in my lower half. And what we did was we decreased my carb intake. And he introduced me to the ketogenic diet.
Right.
And by decreasing the sugars, I realized that my hormones were more balanced. And also my body liked fat.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, I tell this to people all the time, especially for women. Women need fat in their diet because the fat is what makes your other hormones, progesterone, estrogen. If you don't eat any fat, it throws those levels off and it throws you out of whack totally. You lose your period, you know, you hold fat in weird places, you know, your body hoards it in your lower body, you get lean in your upper body, and you get that disproportionate, you know, look that I think a lot of women fight with on a daily basis. And you obviously discovered the secret, so to speak, you know. I've got a little delay, I think, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving forward now, obviously you did your own diet. You got yourself in terrific shape for Chicago. You won that. Your husband does your training. How do you get along with that whole situation? Because I always found that, you know, when I was with other people or I was in relationships with people who were competing, it was difficult a lot of times, you know, dieting and you know, you start, you know, arguing with them and stuff like that. Do you guys get along when you're getting ready for a show?
Yeah. So we actually met at a bodybuilding show. That's how we met. We got married not too long after that, but our passion for bodybuilding is really what keeps us, I think, strong. We're able to motivate each other during our preps. We like prepping together because there's no food in the house to tempt the other person. And he's the type of person where he pushes me. He doesn't care I'm his wife. He'll push me to the point of tears because as my husband, he sees in me the potential that many may not, and he believes in me more than anybody else would. So he pushes me to that next level. And I think because he is my husband and he wants me to do great, I get that a better training environment than if I'm with any old trainer.
That's good. And you know, you guys, I don't know about your husband. I know you're from the military. You have a military background. You still work as a civilian in the military. So you have that very disciplined background, I guess, going along with the contest prep, which always makes it better, I think.
Oh yes, definitely. The discipline I got from the military, even starting when I was at West Point, has definitely carried over into my bodybuilding.
Now, West Point is obviously the best of the best. I mean, you must have been a really good high school student to get into West Point. What made you decide you wanted to go in the military?
Well, I was introduced to West Point, and it was totally free, and I did not have to pay for college. So it wasn't even a matter of being in the military. At that point, it was just free college, and it was a Ivy League education, so I couldn't say no to it.
Right. No, but I'm saying, what made you even apply there to begin with? Because that's a tough school to get into, and it's also, you know, like I said, most people who apply there obviously want to go into the military.
I was in junior ROTC in high school, and my mentor was a retired lieutenant colonel, and he's the one who introduced me to it.
Interesting. Cool. That really, it changes the course of your life. Did you actually have any military service where you were overseas in any kind of, like, you know, dangerous areas?
Yeah, so I actually served in Iraq in a very austere environment. I was the only female in my platoon.
Wow. So
it was rough to say the least, but it was definitely an experience that I wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah, that's something that not a lot of people get to see. I guess when you're hungry on a contest diet and you think back to being in Iraq, it's really not that bad, right?
I lost 10 pounds in the first 30 days in Iraq, so it's comparable.
People complaining about only eating 6 times a day, and you're thinking, man, I was in Iraq eating rations out of a freaking tube of toothpaste, you know, in a trench. I mean, this is a little bit better. I don't think I should be complaining at all.
Exactly,
right?
Living off of the MREs and flies everywhere. Yeah.
People are such babies, right? They don't know. Only people in the military can really relate to, like, that contest prep is like a joke compared to what being in the military is like, you know.
So yeah, it definitely helped prepare me mentally.
Going into this Olympia, what do you, you know, everyone has in their mind what they would be happy with leaving. Obviously, everyone wants a win, but what would you be happy with if you left the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas with next week?
I'm going to be honest. I'm aiming for top 5.
Okay.
I just want to be able to be compared to the top girls. Mm-hmm. If I can get compared, I feel like I'm successful.
Look, looking at your physique, I think you got it all there. I think you got all the tools there. You remind me of a Sydney Gillen type physique or a Candice Lewis. I think you got all the same structure and tool set that they have. And I think that you're going to do I'm predicting right here that you're going to do very well in that Olympia stage, especially if you bring the conditioning that you brought to Chicago. I think these girls are going to have a tough time with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We definitely intend on bringing the exact same package. We actually try to bring a little bit more width up top and a little bit on the quad suite.
Well, you look like you're in great shape. I see that suffering face on you. I know that that the diet is getting to you at this point. You have a week left. I want to wish you the best of luck over the next 7 days, and we'll see you in Vegas, and hopefully I see you in that top 5.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
All right, and that's going to take us to the end of another episode of RXMuscle's Iron Road to the Olympia 2018, brought to you by Redcon One. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.